Okay, welcome, everybody, to episode 6 of Bad Takes. Just going to welcome my co-host really quick. I'm Joe Payne, by the way. You might know me as Political Payne here on YouTube and on Twitter. But of course, my fantastic co-host there, Jay Andrew World. How you doing, Andy? Oh, you're muted, sir. You're muted.
No, I'm doing pretty
good. He's doing all right. Doing pretty good. He did pretty well on the artwork we have in the back here that kind of serves as the main title screen. But let's also bring in, of course, you're my co-host here on Bad Takes, but there's also your co-host on Movie Night Extravaganza, Forrest Miller, always Flacco on Twitter.
I feel like you could do the bit from Eric Andre's show where Hannibal gets a co-host.
Like, I didn't see that bit.
There's a bit they did for a season where Hannibal had a co-host that he kept bringing in, and it was like that Felipe Estrada guy. And
well, there you go. So it'll be a never-ending spiral of co-hosts. So we maybe could be able to do that sometime. But without further ado, let's also bring on our next guest, Erica Strout. Erica Strout is a Georgia-based filmmaker, music video director, and musician. She is half of the musical duo Dream Tent, plays guitar and sings in Motherfucker, and the live band of Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. Welcome, Erica. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you doing?
It's cold and rainy here in California, and I love it. So,
it's been a little bit like that here today too.
Very cool.
Say, sounds more like Seattle by that description of, or Portland. You know, one of the.
Yeah, we're getting hit by a lot of cold rain. But this area, Santa Barbara County is where I'm at, Central Coast we call it, has been drought stricken. You know, the few years of respite we had from drought, we never really pulled out of the drought. So it's really nice to see this. But anywho, we're here to talk about the Long Kiss Goodnight, the 1996 action thriller holiday season-ish.
I would say so. I'd say this is more of a Christmas movie than Die Hard.
He went there, folks. So state your case. How is that true? How is that true?
Well, I mean, first of all, like Die Hard just happens to be at a Christmas party, at an office Christmas party. Nobody ever wants to go to any of those. This one has genuine joy of like the holiday spirit of like they have the Christmas play, they have the carolers, they have they actually have like really selected Christmas music throughout the movie to kind of punctuate the fact that this is Christmas.
Yeah. And ultra violence.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's a Shane Black movie, and Shane Black's films are known for their violence. I know Forrest and I will be doing another Shane Black movie, except this one he ghost written coming up on Movie Night Extravaganza, where we're taking a look at Predator, where he was brought in as an actor to ghostwrite that, but he made it really big right after Predator with Lethal Weapon. And then followed it up with The Last Boy Scouts and a bunch of other just really rock solid action films. And this movie was originally supposed to star Sylvester Stallone. And then Rennie Harlin got a hold of the script. And Rennie Harlin is, was at the time Geena Davis's husband. And they had just done the blockbuster flop. Like, this thing was they did so badly it like closed down an entire studio.
Wow.
Yeah, it cost over $100 million, and they made like 13,000 or something like that. It was called Cutthroat Island. Okay. It's not a great film, but like it
sounds like a better reality show than a.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and this movie came out like 10 months after Cutthroat Island, and it's reteaming Geena Davis with her husband. And so people didn't come out for this movie when it came out. It was a modest success. I mean, it wasn't a flop like Cutthroat Island was, but it wasn't a hit by any stretch of the imagination, and seemed to have been memory hold, which is a damn shame because it's a fun movie.
It is memory hold. Erica, you're the only Forrest and myself here on the left hand of the screen. We both had never heard or seen this film, but you had as well before, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I honestly don't remember when I saw it for the first time because it was definitely during the 90s. when I saw it at some point. I don't remember if it was. I don't think it was in the theater, but I might have seen it when it was like, I don't know, on TV, or maybe we rented it or something. I don't know, but I've always liked this movie. I know we're here to talk about bad movies, but I actually really like this one.
You know,
So,
Bad Takes isn't
I
necessarily.
was excited to talk to y'all about it.
Yeah, Bad Takes isn't necessarily just bad movies. I don't know how we fudged the line on that, but we did. We've established that somehow.
It's kind of like you know, movies are like remembered well or not remembered well, and sometimes like movies like action films that aren't remembered well are considered bad, even though people haven't seen it. You know,
you should have called it Forgotten Classics or something.
Yeah, but Bad Takes is kind of fun because we are actually going to watch some bad movies because
we already have.
Oh yeah.
Well, at least
one.
It's more fun than at least it's more fun than, you know, these are bad movies. Shots fired over there at that podcast.
Hey man, we don't do that type of shit here, Forrest. But Forrest, this was your first time seeing it. It was my first time seeing it. What's your like, you know, kind of just, you know, cold, I don't know what you want, cold viewing of this? You watched it today. I watched it yesterday. What was your initial first impression of this?
I mean, it's interesting. I've been listening to the Matt Christman like, you know, Hell of Presidents thing, and I just got to the episode with Clinton in the 90s yesterday, and you know, it kind of feels like it comes in during this gap where, you know, for the first time the Soviet Union had fallen, and you know, militarism is kind of, for the moment, kind of declining in the sense of like, you know, all of a sudden we don't have this overarching enemy. And it feels like maybe this is the only time where they could make this point about spy agencies possibly getting defunded, which obviously didn't happen. Instead, we ramped up on the Middle East, but they like kind of called that. They 100% called that.
That was what, yeah. They did, definitely did.
Yeah, and I know you hate this word, Forrest, but in the 90s there was a bit of a zeitgeist with the Middle East.
I don't know why you decided I hated that word. I don't hate that word.
You said that. You said that on one of the streams. You're just
guys,
like, I really hate
keep the bickerings on your podcast together, okay? Just kidding. Before we go any further, though, let's watch the trailer. How about that? But do you want to finish that point, Andy?
Yeah, I just want to finish the thought real quickly.
Yeah.
There were just movies where they actually had like Middle Eastern terrorists as the bad guys, such as like True Lies or Executive Decision, you know, for example. And there's probably plenty more we can come up with. And this one has them as scapegoats. So I mean, it's, you know, not that big of a surprise, but like there was something in the air at the time.
Definitely. Let's get into the plot more, but just to let everybody know the vibes and who's what and what's going on, let's watch the trailer real quick. How about that? So
I'm gonna openly admit that I stole this bit on Movie Night Extravaganza from
Well, thank you, Forrest. You know, what is it? Stealing is the highest form of flattery, or whatever Picasso said. I don't know. I'm mixing them all together. But let's watch this really quick. And this is an intro. I gotta admit, I've said this before on the show. I got into film editing in high school, and one of my favorite things is like trailer editing. Like there are editors who just do trailers, and you can see why you can do an intriguing trailer. And I thought this one was. But let's see how it goes with this.
Caitlin, come help me in the kitchen. Hurry up, because I forget where it is.
That's her mom. She's got amnesia.
What if you couldn't remember your real name, your first kiss, or your last goodbye?
I don't remember.
Honey, you have an ETA on that carrot?
Stow it.
And then suddenly,
I used to do this. I'm a chef. Yo!
without warning,
Give me something else.
Celery! Scallions!
all your memories
Name's Charlie. I'm coming back.
came flooding back to you.
Evening, Charlie. Long time.
One bullet at a time.
I got movement on Samantha Kane.
You're kidding.
I may have a lead on someone. May still have some of her stuff.
This man, he's going to help me find some things out. So we'll be safe.
Your full name is Charlene Elizabeth Baltimore. This could be trouble.
My name is Samantha Kane.
No, forget all that.
I'm in the PTA.
Then quit! You're an assassin working for the United States government.
We have 24 hours. We find her and we kill her.
Run for your life!
Charlie Baltimore's alive, sir.
Who are you?
Name's Charlie.
The spy.
Back when we first met, you were all like, oh, phooey, I burned the darn muffins. Now, you go into a bar, 10 minutes later, sailors come running out. What up with that?
Honk if there's any trouble.
Yeah, so Miss Daisy, I be honking.
If you have plans for a calm, quiet evening,
Cover your ears. Hey, should we get a dog?
it's time to kiss them all. Good night. Geena Davis, Samuel L. Jackson, The Long Kiss Goodnight, directed by Rennie Harlan.
Dang, dog. Oh, geez, that was an end.
Definitely does a good job emphasizing that it's a Christmas movie. It shows her jumping off the sleigh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I also thought about the fact that at the end when she like she grabs hold of the like Christmas lights on
Holiday
the bridge
lights, yeah.
and like cuts it, and then she grabs the gun off of the guy who was on fire and
it's such a
kills
great
her.
moment.
Kills the guy, like Christmassy, like
Yeah.
that one ties it in well too.
I know. I do that every Christmas for
It was a
with
great
my
moment.
kids.
Totally. I will remind everyone that we're live, so anybody of all of our 5 viewers watching, if they want to chime in or ask some questions, we'll be able to see those. But my first impression on this movie was it's interesting. It's this familiar trope, the hit woman who wakes up from her amnesia. It's like Kill Bill, right?
Or even this came out before Kill Bill. Remember,
I
this
know,
is like
I know.
5 or 6 years before Kill
Right.
Bill, and it's also before Captain Marvel, which even had Samuel L. Jackson trying to help the amnesiac woman.
Even that, it's oh my god, it's the same movie.
In fact, whenever I watch Captain Marvel, I'm like, I don't know. I think I like the Long Kiss Goodnight better.
Well, that's pretty good. I mean,
It also
not
kind of
only is
does
this
a really
Christmas movie, but it's a Marvel movie.
it does a really good job kind of explaining which it doesn't say it every, but like the theory of like the honeypot, which is like in spycraft is like a woman who seduces men in order to find out secrets, and then depending on the version of it, it could just be to find out secrets and maintain a long-term relationship, which it seems like she was doing with multiple of these people that were like enemies of the CIA. And then of course the allegiances flip and they're after her during this movie. But like it doesn't really, like if I was going to explain to somebody what a honeypot was, I would point to this movie and be like,
Yeah.
She totally fits the
Definitely better than that.
And
go ahead, Erica.
Oh no, I was just gonna say the amnesia, like waking up, and I feel like there's probably a whole list of movies that fit that kind of. It feels like a trope now because I feel like I've heard of and seen multiple movies that have that sort of setup.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting to me how Geena Davis's characters is very like, I don't want to use this in a clinical way, but like bipolar, meaning she's two separate people. There's this, and Samuel Jackson says you're worried about the muffins. She says I'm on the PTA. She's this loving, kind mother, and then she snaps in and out as her more brutal killer instinct type of assassin. And I think it was it was somebody, it might have been Nerd Writer, who did like a bit about the violence in this director's movies. What's his name again, Andy? I'm blanking.
Shane Black.
Yeah,
Nerd Writer did do one.
Yeah, and the scene, so she it sets up that she has amnesia because of a car wreck, or she was found by the side of the road or whatever with injured severely, and so she has this amnesia. But then she starts recalling because she has another severe accident, and it's very like strange. Like a deer comes through the windshield, kicks her in the face. She goes flying through the windshield.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a car accident the first time. Her amnesia the first time was set off by a guy shooting her in the head.
Yeah,
that's
we
right.
don't know
that's
that.
right. We don't know that in the beginning, and then she gets in this car wreck and hits her head. and or there's this this deer, and the deer's laying there injured, and she gets up just long enough after the car to snap its neck before passing out. Right, so the violence is very strange and crude and comical. But then I also found it interesting that the assassin character kicks in that moment where her little girl falls down and hurts her wrist, right? And she has that line like, "Life is pain, get used to it." And just the theme of violence in this film is interesting. But then we have that layer of the United States government, and you're immediately taken to the kitchen of the White House, where like intelligence agencies guys are meeting with the president about her, and they're talking about the Christmas parade.
The best line in the whole movie, where he says that he's going to defund the CIA in order to fund healthcare, which is the most unrealistic part of the entire fucking story. They wouldn't, like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's funny that it's kind of like the Clinton figure that clearly doing that.
You think he's a Clinton-esque figure? Bernie didn't somehow get it in the 90s. Oh my god!
Well, Clinton was doing his big healthcare push at the time. I mean, it kind of had stalled out by 1996, but like, you know, he was doing the thing where Hillary was kind of leading the healthcare. Like she was kind of leading the committee to figure out like what their healthcare plan was going to be, and they were talking about. Yeah,
right around the time the script was being written too, because this script made when the script was sold to the studio, it was a big deal because he was the first screenwriter to get paid over $1 million for a script. So this movie is kind of like important in that way because it like broke records for like how much a screenwriter got, and he was writing it right around the time healthcare was going on in the States. So of course, like that was probably on his mind when he was writing that scene.
How much did it end up? I mean, I could look it up, I guess. But how much? Do you know how much it made at the box office and stuff? When
like 60 million or something like that.
Budget was 65 million. I have the Wikipedia up, I guess. Budget was 65 million. Box office 95.5 million. So I mean, it grossed a good amount of money. You know what I mean? Like,
but not enough to be considered a hit because you got to double that.
Yeah. No, it's not doubling it. But I mean, you know. When you look at the fact that, I mean, like as you said, their movie before that like hemorrhaged money. I mean, at least it kind of grossed a fair amount, I'd say.
Yeah, no. This movie was did well enough, and it probably, if it didn't have that whole cloud over it from Cutthroat Island, maybe we could have gotten a sequel in the 90s. I know Randy Harlan wants to do a sequel without Geena Davis.
I can't wait for the Cutthroat Island, the reboot where it just comes up as just leaving a bunch of people on an island with a knife, and whoever comes out wins $1 million.
Wait, wasn't it that big festival?
Firefest?
Yeah, Firefest.
Fire, yeah.
Were you going to add something earlier?
That one, at least you had Ja Rule as the one, leaving the knife out for everybody. And
but the other one had Franklin Jella as a badass.
It was that the president was making his own sandwich. And
well, that's Clinton for you. You know what I mean? Working blue collar guy.
Kind of president.
Go to McDonald's all the time.
I need a corned beef sandwich.
Work. Charge a phone. Be bisexual. Eat hot chip and lie.
And he'd run to the McDonald's anytime he was hungry.
Oh boy, I need a corned beef sandwich in between clandestine meetings with intelligence officials. But anyway, another interesting.
There's that amazing Phil Hartman bit where he's playing Clinton and he's in like the sweatpants and the hoodie, or not hoodie, but like the crew neck. And he runs to McDonald's and he's like, "Oh, I'm supposed to be losing weight." And he's like, he's like eating the foot every time he goes up to somebody and meets them in the McDonald's. He's like, "You gonna finish that?" And like, dips his hand into the fucking person's fries or whatever.
Yes. Now, there's another line from that scene where they call her, she's a relic of the Cold War. Some such and such type of assassin, and it really, I think, comes from this. It's like commentary on this tradition of films during the Cold War that have the lone hero, Rambo. You know what I mean? We have these Die Hard, these lone action hero movies. which is just so far from the actual truth of our foreign policy in the Cold War. But
well, it's also just it's that pivot. They're you know they're making the commentary kind of they're kind of hitting you over the head with it, but it's that pivot after the Soviet Union falls, and all of a sudden we're kind of pivoting towards fear mongering about Middle Eastern radical terrorists, which they make it very clear in this, like, oh, we're gonna frame a Muslim guy so that we can
blame
get
it
more...
on the Muslims, he said. Blame it
Yeah.
on the Muslims, just casually like that.
And there's like this Saddam Hussein looking guy that you know what I mean, that's in the truck, that's like kind of
Yes.
kind of like it's like they have dead in the truck and they're gonna blow everything up with it, and so they're kind of hitting you over the head, like all of these alliances that have taken place during the Cold War, they've now switched them up because we're in the new phase of intelligence gathering, we're in a new phase of warfare, we're in a new phase of militarism, and someone who they had hired during the Cold War to wage this honeypotting spycraft is all of a sudden on their hit list, and the guy that was their like number one enemy is now their their number one assassin.
Yeah, that's this character here. He's like the main bad guy. It's also very reminiscent of Bond movies and other like villain movies where they're dispatched to kill the hero, but they never really stick. Like they get there, they're like, haha, hero, blah blah blah, and then they leave to let other people do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they also do the same like on that same token. She asked like, oh, what's your plan? And he's like, all right, if you must know, you know what I mean? It gives away the entire fucking plan of blowing, like and that's the Bond villain thing. Like so many people have made jokes about that. Like they're about to kill James Bond, and he's like, wait, what's your plan? And he like goes into the whole thing in detail, and then James Bond's like, oh, all right, like I could just get myself out of this situation now, thanks.
Yeah, that's why in Watchmen it was so great whenever, the whole thing was like, oh, I did that a half hour ago. The whole conceit of that. So
the politics, there is that scene where they say we're gonna construct a terrorist attack as the CIA. We're gonna blame it on the Muslims. It just seems very like ripe for conspiracy theory. He even references the first attack on the World Trade Center, the first bombing. I don't know. It's just fascinating that was so in the zeitgeist. It was just known that casually in a 90s movie that most people forgot about, that this was just open discussion, that the CIA was this dirty and this,
and that's why they forgot about it. Stay woke.
And it was because of budget cuts. I love that he blames budget cuts for
right?
their corruption.
Well, I mean, and it's really the only moment in kind of post-Soviet history that you really can make make this kind of case, because it's during this kind of lull where we haven't really decided on our next enemy, but we have this huge military state and this huge intelligence apparatus that needs somebody to go after. And of course, Saddam Hussein becomes the person that we go after, and Osama bin Laden, and Al Qaeda and all of these different terrorist cells, as we fund other terrorists, like other, Islamist and like Muslim extremist groups to fight other like the amount of funding that we've had giving money to one group, like it makes you think that of course, I mean, I'm not saying that like we faked the the World Trade Center getting fucking blown up, but like it does make you think like of course there's some kind of conspiracy, because we're giving money to one group that we say this is the enemy, this is the end, like absolutely this is the enemy, and then we're giving them money to fund like to fight another group and weapons to fight another group that we're like, oh, this is the enemy, like this hands down this is the enemy. Like we were allying with fucking Al Qaeda to fight ISIS, and within the last decade.
Yeah.
But of course, Al Qaeda is the worst enemy we've ever faced. You know what I mean? But then also ISIS, worst enemy we've ever faced. And I don't know. It's just
Obama invented ISIS.
Have you ever seen a movie called Hypernormalization?
Yes.
Anybody ever watched all that? It's long.
Many times, and I've referenced it like a bunch of times on Movie Night Extravaganza. I almost forgot the name of my own podcast.
Is it like Spare Change?
Yeah, too. No, it's the Adam Curtis documentary that I reference all the time.
Oh, okay. It's not like Spare Change at all.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
How does it relate, Erica, to this one?
Well, we're just talking about world politics and the U.S. having their hands in multiple things and kind of like, I don't know if orchestrating is quite the right word, but certainly like opportunistically, like sort of encouraging like different kinds of conflict between different groups around the world in different countries, and like funding groups that you would think that we would, that we claim are our enemies and that sort of thing. And it starts back with Kissinger and kind of talks about the whole history of his reign and his
realism.
role. It's like 3 hours long, but it is worth a watch for anybody who wants to kind of see a few of the pieces of all that come together, because it also talks about the internet and how that's developed, and it kind of touches on why, what contributed to Trump getting elected too. So anyway,
no, I
was just curious if anyone had seen it.
Did you see his new one? Can't Get You Out of My Head, the docuseries that he did this year. Oh, it's so fucking good. You gotta watch that. It kind of
I will.
It like more than any other documentary I've ever seen, or docuseries, I guess. It's a bunch of episodes, but like more than anything else that I've really seen, it tracks like a mood. Like it's about kind of the feelings that we've had and this feeling of failure, and the way that neoliberalism has kind of permeated our emotional state. And that's like kind of what he tracks from from all the way back to like Maoism in the Cultural Revolution. Because like a big plot of it is about Mao's wife and the role that she played in the Cultural Revolution, and the role that kind of she played after Mao's death, and her like eventual hanging herself in a jail cell. And like, so it tracks all of that, but at the same time it's kind of tracking like the failures in like Wall Street and like all of these different things. I kind of have an Adam Curtis joke though that I have tweeted out a whole bunch of fucking times, which is every time I think about hypernormalization, I think about like because he says it over and over again, where he's like, they retreated back into themselves. That's so there was a while when I just kept thinking about that, and like somebody, like every time there was kind of like a big like political loss that the U.S. left had, I was like, and that's when they decided to retreat back into themselves.
What's the series called again? I want to write it down real quick.
Can't Get You Out of My Head, and it's all on YouTube for free. The entire thing.
Great.
So you can just look it up episode by episode.
But
I referenced it pretty extensively when we talked about Blair Witch Project, and there was a long quote that he had about how kind of both the idea of like he brings it back to like the Lordly Ones, which is an old opera from the UK, where they were kind of talking about like a naturalized hierarchy, and the fact that as democracy kind of grew in both the UK and the US, we needed to kind of bring things back to a much more right-wing, much more reactionary form of naturalized hierarchy. So in the UK, it was, and Andy, you probably remember me talking about this with Hit Factory when they were on talking about Blair Witch Project. But yeah. So like both kind of this idea of like a naturalized force of spirits and like ancient ones kind of in the UK woods that kind of enforce this naturalized hierarchy that you couldn't get too far from, and also like Birth of a Nation and the KKK, and like in the US kind of enforcing this racial caste system rather than social caste, which is kind of what they were in the UK. So I don't know. I found this documentary like absolutely fascinating because it was tracing kind of like a mood, like you could say like a mood or like a vibe rather than or like the aestheticization of reactionary politics for like 50 years.
Now, is there any kind of message against that in the Long Kiss Goodnight? Because there is the shadowy intelligence agencies. You could see it as some kind of I don't know if it's just an anti-American foreign policy message, or it's just sowing skepticism or distrust, right? So this is where we're like, is it a type of a populism? Is it a type of or is it just an anti-elite, right? Thing?
Well, it's cynicism. It's cynicism of.
Is it just raw cynicism?
Yeah, I mean that kind of is. There's a long history of that throughout action movies. You know what I mean? Like, I think that drives the plot in a lot of action movies. The cynicism, this feeling of failure, and they touch on this within Can't Get You Out of My Head, which is kind of interesting. The fact that kind of all intelligence agencies, especially like MI5 in Britain, like their version of kind of the CIA, so badly botched deciding to report whether or not the Soviet Union was falling. They had no idea the Soviet Union was falling, and they turned and had said, pretty much like, oh well, the Soviet Union didn't really fall, and they kind of invented a continuation of the Soviet Union within the UK intelligence state, instead of admitting their failures. And I think that this movie kind of, the fact that these alliances switch up like this, right, and they can't really admit in a public space that now they have alliances with the same people that they had vilified throughout the entire Cold War and throughout this certain thing. Instead of doing that, they're willing to just purge the intelligence state of people like Geena Davis's character. Like, it's this purge that happens instead of just admitting that these things have changed.
Yeah, we fired all those people, but so they're very vague about this character and the the villain, and he was once a target and now he's working with the agency or the chapter or whatever. They have this name of the shadowy agency, contracted or whatever by the CIA, but we never really learn like what his actual deal is, right? Or what his group's deal is. It's very vague.
What's your deal? Bro.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. Like, is there an ideology?
Some kind of like,
I mean,
yeah, is it part of like organized crime in some way? Like, is it?
I'm going to say that it, like the problem with a lot of '90s films is that there isn't an ideology. It's just raging against the machine. But there's nothing behind it. Like, look at Billy Corgan, for example. But Billy Corgan in the '90s, was like one of the biggest musical acts, very important musical act too. And he was always raging against whatever was like whoever was in charge. And now he's doing the same thing, but like the problem is it's the same things that he's now doing the opposite of what he was raging against in the 90s, by raging against what's who he thinks has the power now.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing with like Glenn Greenwald, right?
Would you?
Yeah.
Oh boy, if you say his name 3 times. But the other thing is, she's later tortured in this scene, so we see like this kind of just acknowledgement that we know the CIA tortures people, right? Like,
and it's not extremely reminiscent of like waterboarding.
We torture
getting waterboarded.
We torture folks.
But it's also like cold exposure. Like, there are people who do like water bath, like really cold water for like therapeutic reasons too, which might be what actually like triggers that.
Wim Hof had coached her. That crazy Norwegian dude with the world records had for ice baths. He coached her before all that. So
has anybody ever actually done anything like that? Jumped into like a frozen lake or something?
Nah, dude.
Well, I've done it. So I've gone to a gym where they had a hot tub and a cold tub, and
but that's not the same.
Nothing to that level.
So I have a story to tell. I was in college, and we were hanging out at the lake, and I was sitting, and I was just completely bored out of my mind, and I hated my professor, and I decided that I was just going to jump in the lake. Now, this is in upstate New York.
I thought you were going to say you waterboarded your professor.
No. The ice had just melted, but like the water's still ice cold. God. And I took a running leap off the dock, went flying, hit the water, and as soon as I hit the water, it was so cold I let out all my air.
Yeah, it'll knock the wind right out of you.
Because that's that's just your body's natural habit of doing that, and then having to I was struggling to get up. I'm like a friend of mine who was in the class, who was actually a trained lifeguard, was sitting there going, "I'm not going in after him. It's too cold."
Oh my God.
Hope he's all right.
We're lucky you're here with us today, Andy, it sounds like.
But I got my teacher to swear, so
there you go.
It was all worth it just for that. It's just like everybody's just like, oh my God, Corky said asshole. It was so cool. So anyway, so when Samuel L. Jackson hit the water in the movie, that one scene, like Geena Davis obviously has been trained for this stuff, but not him. Like, I'm sure he let out all of his oxygen, and then he doesn't come up right away because remember, she shoots out the ice right there, They both go down. She comes up immediately, and he's nowhere to be found.
I will say, like, on the level of stunt work, this was a fun film. It was fun just to see all these old school stunts, blowing shit up, throwing people off of trucks and whatnot.
You did have that one bad CG explosion though, with the
dude who ran out of the way.
The wall.
Oh, there's that, but there's also the guy who jumps out of the way of Samuel L. Jackson's car right at the end on the bridge, and that was a really bad CGI. Like,
oh yeah.
Honestly, I thought that was he was like landing on like it looked weird because he was bouncing off of like whatever was breaking his fall.
Make whatever excuse you want. It did.
He was not.
Yeah, no, that scene didn't work. I agree.
He was not landing on concrete. Yeah.
No, that was obvious. It looked weird, and that was my read on it. Is that he was bouncing off whatever the mats that were there that were made to look like concrete, but it just didn't. He didn't land right.
Well, there's also the Craig Bierko, I guess is the name of the actor that was in Scary Movie 4. There's also the part where he falls off the bridge, and it seems like it's in front of a green screen, and he's like, when he falls into fucking Niagara Falls. Which
that was that classic Hitchcock. That's that classic Hitchcock technique from Vertigo, right? Where the guy falls off the Statue of Liberty.
But like, at least that kind of made sense in Vertigo. It kind of in this, it just came up as like,
no, this was all foreshadowed. She said you're going to die screaming.
Yeah,
and he did.
Yeah. Well, no, this isn't when he died. This is when he went into the water. He fell off the bridge, went into the water, and then he popped back out of the waterfall. And I called it, and I was like, whenever you see somebody falling into the water and like there's the waterfall, like they always get the fuck back out of that. Like they never. That's never like there's no movie where going over the waterfall is what ultimately kills the person. They're always like, I'm out of the water now, and like come out of a gutter or something, and they're back.
There was a lot of the action movie, like people taking multiple gunshot wounds and just keeping going. What were we gonna say, Erica?
Mm-hmm. Oh, just that, like, I feel like the undertow of a waterfall could easily kill you if you went.
Oh, 100%.
If you actually
Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls is known for its undertow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they can never. The reason that they can't do it is because the catharsis of it doesn't really work, right? Like you're not like, oh, that guy fell into a waterfall. I'm so happy. Like it has to be that the person gets back out of the waterfall and they're like, I'm still alive, because you want to see them die in a far more gruesome fashion. Which I mean, it is, it's scary to think about getting pulled into undertow. Like I've almost died that way before. Like it fucking sucks. But like, it's not a cathartic thing. Like if you've seen somebody engaging in acts of villainy, like you're not like, hey, I want this person to get dragged into the undertow. You're like, I want this person to fucking be on a car and have the whole thing blow up and see them blow up from a close-up shot. Like I want to see that. I don't want to see. I don't want to leave it up a chance and just they're on a waterfall. Like
yeah. Well, and it didn't kill Geena Davis's character earlier in the movie, right? It was like so. Although it wasn't waterfall.
There's fire.
Yeah, the cliffs of New Jersey. New Jersey's known for its cliffs.
Terrifying.
White cliffs of Jersey. There's a lot of a lot of themes of violence in this, but one thing that I found like interesting, and this is the first Bad Takes I got to watch with my wife, and she remembered the trailer from when she was a kid and wanting to see it, like, oh cool, the lady knows how to chop or whatever, and then you see a lady being a badass.
That's what chefs do.
Yeah, that's what chefs do. And
chefs do that.
yeah, snaps a dude's neck. That guy was cartoonishly villainous. The guy who breaks out of the jail, the one-eyed guy.
One-eyed Jack.
Yeah. But one thing
which
I
makes
found
you
really
wonder,
interesting.
he got that. What was his nickname before losing that eye? Because you see him lose the eye, and it's because of
they called him Regular Jack. They just call him Regular Jack.
This is Jack. Nobody remembers.
Come on, Jack.
Come on, Jack. Come on.
I have a slightly hard time believing that with one eye he could see the clip of her on an old television through that like grate that was in front of the TV. I was like, that's a little far-fetched. Like, and I don't think they would show that many clips in a row of her up close in a parade. But like, okay.
How about the news report? Like, how about the casual misogyny? Just like the news reporter was like, and Mrs. Claus sure was a sight to see, or some creepy shit. Like it was just like,
it's also getting catcalled by the people on the actual parade. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh man, you can't you can't win as a suburban PTA mom in the
But that was the weird thing is
90s.
that there's also the conversations with I want to get back to the violence, the point I was making about the violence in a second, but they do have this like conversation between Samuel Jackson and her about like how hot she is and stuff. Like that was a whole weird segment, right?
Well, she kind of does the
Are you talking about the
newer
end where she goes, "This is the last time I'll be pretty"?
That that was
No.
like the cherry on
In the
top of it.
car.
I'm telling you, there was the scene
No,
in
in
the
the
car.
car.
right?
He's like
Yeah.
literally talking body parts and
It's
you
like,
know,
oh,
you're pretty and
your
this and
body's
that.
pretty good,
Oh,
but your
right.
face is kind of fucked up. He calls her basically a butterface in the car. And
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry.
that's true.
Yeah, there was just and then of course there's also this scene right where the scene right before she gets it, they hit the deer. This like old drunk dude like grabs at her, you know what I mean? And she's just like, "Oh, you cut
Yeah.
it out." Yeah.
and then,
It's
but
like,
then
"Ugh."
to be fair, it causes the
Oh, I
car
thought
to
he was
crash.
trying to do this thing.
Well,
I'm
at
Yeah,
first-
but
I'm
then
not
he
drunk
then he
by
grabs
touching
her.
my
Then
nose.
he you know he
Oh,
this,
oh,
this is a variation of the Frank Costanza "I stop short" move, right? Like he's he, you know was
yeah. I guess I
pulling.
missed that part. Okay.
But then
It was
she's
weird.
well. That's why the car crashes. She's so distracted by telling him to fuck off that she misses that there's a deer in the middle of the road.
Yeah,
Like
Samuel
that
Jackson.
That's an
that guy
inappropriate
dies
question
for
about
his-
how often they do this.
Yeah, Samuel Jackson is also like I guess like a crooked PI. You know what I mean? Like the beginning, you think, what is he, a cop or what is he doing? And he's pretending to be a cop to grift a guy for money, like on a bogus prostitution charge. It ends up, you know, these so-called prostitute is working with him, you know, and then he's hired these bums, you know. So like there is that's the other weird thing about that's the other weird thing about Samuel L. Jackson's character. Is that he's this like kind of crooked PI, he's out for himself, but then he just helps this lady along, you know, like literally going against the CIA or whatever else, you know, trying to foil a terrorist plot after getting riddled with bullets. She throws him out of a car. There's all this stuff he does to her. I mean, what did you guys think about Samuel L. Jackson's character and his performance and his motivations? I guess I don't know.
Oh, he's
Well,
just a simp. He's a
this
classic
is.
simp.
Oh my!
He's the classic. He's the classic pre-internet simp. You know, his simp energy has to go somewhere. It goes to the one suburban white lady that he's kind of had the you know, and then still she turns into this badass spy, and he's like, oh, I liked the PTA white lady. I'm going through my fantasies of, you know, getting to catcall somebody in the car and having you be like, oh, you know, that's bad. You shouldn't do that. And, you know, rapping him on the knuckles for not really doing anything. He likes that. He doesn't like, you know, getting thrown into this violence thing, but he's like, well, hopefully that lady will come back. So let me just keep big simping here.
Yeah.
But I also
He does
love the
get the
fact that
shit beat out of him a few times with the spy lady though, so I kind of
Yeah.
get why he
he actually
prefers the
dies in
PTA
the
version.
original script.
Whoa.
Yeah,
really?
this is Samuel Jackson's favorite role, and so you can actually find interviews with it. Like still to this day, he's like, yeah, I love that movie. Playing it, you know, starring in that movie, Long Kiss Goodnight, motherfucker. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
It also
He was great in
preceded,
that. I really like him.
Django Unchained, where, you know, he gets riddled full of bullets, and it's like the most brutal possible way to die when he's you know,
well, that was his ancestor,
Calvin Candy's you know, house servant, house slave. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Just to acknowledge Jeremy's comment here. Yes, we are talking about the Rennie Harlan film, The Long Kiss Goodnight. That's what we're doing here. Bad Takes episode 6. All 2 of our viewers, thank you for being here. Keep commenting. Yeah, it's the thing I was getting to earlier though was there's like depictions of violence, kind of against or there are kids put in violent situations. Right. There's of course her daughter, and this is typical of like hostage movies, right? But like the scene that really surprised me in the beginning, from the beginning, like this is like kind of a different, like this movie doesn't mind being dark, is when the little girl falls and we don't know in that moment, but she fractures her wrist, and you know the assassin like kicks into her mom, her amnesiac mom, who's like, you know, life is pain, get used to it. But there's also a scene, something that my wife knows when we were watching. There's the scene. You remember the kid that is like trying to smoke cigarettes, the little chubby kid, who's like trying to smoke cigarettes, and then she ends up scaring him. She goes, "You tell me when I'll blow your fucking head off," and he pisses himself. Right, so that was like a whole trope in the '90s. Was pick a kid in your movie that bad shit happens to, and he's like the Goonies. I'm trying to think of
Adam's Family.
Oh yeah, Adam's Family, or
man, if
Dennis the Menace.
If pissing your pants is cool, call me Miles Davis. You know what I mean?
Oh, shabba-dabba-doo.
Better.
Yeah. Meg Ryan or Jack Nicholson.
The way you delivered that, Forrest.
Yeah, I miss Norm Macdonald. He was so funny in Billy Madison. But anyway, that was like a whole. And my wife even said something about that. Like that was like a whole thing in the '90s. Like they pick a kid to treat like shit. Like it's usually a chubby kid, but also that thing of the kid peeing his pants. You know what I mean? That was. It's just weird. There were a lot of things in this film that like track differently, or track differently now. But you see, the '90s were. It's like the in between time, right? But between, I don't know. I'm trying to.
Decade.
Really was. Forrest is. We'll be right back. But thanks, Forrest. But so it's that I found interesting, and then the really brutal one, the one that just surprised the shit out of me and kind of freaked me out, was at the end where the little girl hides in the part of that truck, and the truck like rolls over and skids across, and all the kid ends up saying later is, "Mommy, I hit my head." It's like, whoa, man,
just get over your concussion.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess because the truck fell with the driver's side up and she was on that side, so she at least wasn't like sliding along the ground inside that box.
Exactly.
She's lucky that she only hit her head and that's the way it fell. But
absolutely,
Andy,
what did you think about that?
That it was a bomb.
Yeah.
I could be partly like immune to it from watching so many '90s movies.
Yeah.
But they don't seem to have violence against children anymore in films, which I don't know what that says about me or about movies. But yeah, there was that thing where they would bully somebody relentlessly, whether it be like the fat kid, but also like the popular kid too. If you remember, going back to Adam's Family, it wasn't it wasn't Pugsley who was getting bullied. It was the rich girl. Who ended up being on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But
trying to remember. I don't remember that movie super clearly.
It's been a minute.
But yeah, you're right.
Are you talking about Adam's Family
there was
still?
The whole Wednesday thing where, a
little bit, but like it's a little. Well, also like in Adam's Family Values, the baby gets drunk at Fester's wedding.
What? The baby gets drunk?
Yeah,
they about that.
Yeah, they kind of hint that he has a hangover, and then he gives hair of the dog, and you actually see really quickly he puts vodka in the bottle for the baby with the egg and the.
Oh my gosh!
Because of a hangover, right? He shakes it up and gives it to him in a bottle.
I miss the '90s.
Yeah, I grew up with those movies. I really liked the Addams Family because I love Christopher Lloyd, and everybody was really funny in that. But
no, those were great.
They were really good. But you're right. Like Pugsley is just a punching bag throughout the first one, but then the second one, they target the preppy girl right at the camp, and Wednesday has like some very anti-establishment, I guess I'll say, some positions in that film, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
she's pretty cutting.
And Forrest is back. Hello,
Yay.
Forrest.
Hey, I just put my dog to bed while I was upstairs.
Not to sleep, but not to sleep.
I made sure not to say. I would just put my dog to sleep.
That was pretty quick. You seem to be doing just fine, though. But we were talking about the violence in the movie.
Euthanasia happens fast. You just gotta.
God.
You just gotta, get right in there, and if you blink, you might miss it.
Snap its neck.
Don't forget our Geena Davis character is she engages in some casual euthanasia herself. with the deer. But we were talking about the violence with kids in this movie. Like the little girl, of course, is taken hostage. Change Your World is like, oh, it didn't even track for me. I'm desensitized from all the action movies I've seen.
Well,
and
it kind of takes the stakes out of it because you know they're not going to kill the kid.
I guess I tripped out when they have the kid in the truck and it starts rolling and like, you know what I mean? And she later just pops out like, I bumped my head, mommy, and all that. I was just like, whoa, man.
I don't know. I kind of made the point while watching this.
Yeah.
I watched it. My mom decided to watch it with me. The first movie she's watched through of any kind, I think, in a while. That she was like, oh, I'll hang out. So I made the point during this. I was like, yeah, it kind of took the wind out of the sails with you know, like the ability to like say, hey, you know, they're gonna die in the end. Like they're not gonna kill a kid off. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel like they would.
I was surprised they didn't let, like Andy said, Samuel L. Jackson wasn't killed or was killed in the original script. I was surprised he didn't end up dying.
They filmed that ending, and the test audience hated it. So it's you know, that's why he gets all shot up and lives. But
and then we get the Larry King.
He gets shot in the chest.
Yeah. And
that's
where
yada the whole part where both Geena Davis and Samuel L. Jackson live in the end. They like they're like it seems like they're dying in the car, and she's like, "Come on, live," and like holds his hand, but she also seems like she's dying. Like she passes out from blood loss, like 10 minutes before that. So I figured like maybe they would both die. And it would just be like the kid traumatized in the car, and they kind of yada over that, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they're on TV and everything's bright and shiny and happy. And
Larry King live. We're here talking with Samuel.
And I kept thinking that they were gonna do all of that, like to get your hopes up, and then go to that dark ending where they're both dead in the car, and it would be like, holy fucking shit, what did I just watch? But then they didn't do it. So
yeah, well, I mean, Rennie Harlan's not
for
known
a really
for
good sequel, though.
Yeah. Rennie Harlan's not known for challenging people. I mean, like Die Hard 2, Cutthroat Island, even his post. You know, I'm not. You know, he's a very competent director, but like his movies are not like Tarantino where they're going to challenge you.
Yeah. We didn't have any giant pressing questions at the end of this one, did we? That's what kind of bugged me was how everything was so wrapped nice and tight with a neat bow. Like, oh, really?
Yeah, well, thanks to reshoots and people not liking Samuel L. Jackson dying. And Samuel L. Jackson's like, thank you, test audience. I'm glad I didn't die.
I mean, he was strapped to a chair in the hotel room, and then the explosion that she caused in the freezer in the basement, he gets blown out the window through the wall.
And he flies
and
so
through
far.
The sign.
That stunt was
through the lit
ridiculous.
sign of the
Go
hotel.
back one.
Oh.
And then he gets shot in the chest, and he still lives. Like, it's impressive. But I didn't want to see him die either. So, you know, I mean,
what is even this
I get
poster?
why they didn't want that to happen.
And she also stays. She stays with the boring ass dude that like the whole movie. It's like he's barely in it.
Yeah, but like those legs, like what the hell? That was the Australian release, if I remember correctly.
That's weird.
But yeah, it was some of the.
She is 6'1". Maybe that's just what her legs look like.
They literally tilted the image.
You know what scares the shit out of Australian people? How many spiders can kill you? Make her look like the spider. Give her spider.
They scrambled a lot of.
You should not live in Australia.
They also scrambled a lot of choppers for this movie, which you know. Oh, what's the name of that guy? David Morse. Remember that one guy who she kills in the water torture scene? I really like that actor. That whole
David
thing was
Morris,
fun.
I think.
Yeah, I like him, man. That guy just keeps working. He's always that guy. Let's see. Oh, they have a bunch of storyboard stuff here on IMDb. Check out IMDb, everybody. But it was. And then of course, what's his name here?
Brian Cox.
Brian Cox. Who's always so much fun. I was bummed they killed him so early in the film because I just wanted more of him.
But he did have Chekhov's gun in his pants.
Yeah, well, you got to. That was the whole thing.
More like Jackoff's gun, am I right?
No. Oh boy. Oh,
I really love his intro scene where he's sitting at the dinner table with the old lady who is maybe his mom, I don't know, but as a dog who's just like going at the butthole. And his whole exchange with that just really like
It's been 3
really
hours.
delighted me.
Either it's out of the asshole.
It's either
Oh my God.
it's there
He's
to
never
stay.
he's never heard about the anal gland. You got to express the anal gland to everybody of your dogs. That's what that whole scene. That was really funny. And then wasn't that old lady in that scene? I looked her up. She's the grandma from Half Baked.
Mhm.
And it's good for your glaucoma too, right? She's that little lady. She was
Yeah.
in, I think she was in Billy Madison and a bunch of other ones too.
We kind of got past
she's a
the
familiar
Brian.
in their face.
We kind of got past the Brian Cox thing, and I wanted to just say I've been watching Secession. I've been binge watching Secession at the
He's
same
so
time as watching this movie. It is so good, but just seeing him, because I can't name another thing that I've seen him in.
X-Men. He was in one of the X-Men movies. He was in
Brian Cox.
Everything.
He was
He's
Hannibal
been in a
Lecter,
lot.
wasn't he?
No, that's Anthony Hopkins.
No, before Anthony Hopkins.
Was he?
Manhunter.
Before Anthony Hopkins?
Yeah, 1986, I want to say.
Oh my God.
There was Manhunter, and I'm pretty sure he was Hannibal Lecter.
I think this film.
Which everybody's like, you know, he did a good job, but the problem is, it's like you can't compare him to frickin' Anthony Hopkins, who, you know, was in a movie for 16 minutes and won like best leading actor.
We just watched.
I'm sure he's been in a lot of things. I just off the top of my like I've seen Churchill is in that. I've seen I just off the top of my head. Off the top of my head, I just had different Churchill. I guess he played Churchill in that one. But just off the top of my head, it's like, you know, I never thought about him as an actor before watching Secession. So like seeing him, you know.
Yeah. No, he's one of those like guys who just disappears in the roles, and you kind of forget about him because he's not the parts you remember. But he helps.
Yeah.
He's so good in everything that he's ever in. And like, you know, it's also unfair that he was the first Hannibal Lecter, but then the second Hannibal Lecter just blew him out of the water because
nobody remembers he was that. Yeah, nobody remembers that.
He's also in the only Stanley Kubrick movie that I haven't seen. Like literally out of all of his movies, the only Stanley Kubrick movie I haven't seen is Barry Lyndon, and he's in Barry Lyndon.
I can get you a link to watch that for free if you have a library card.
I mean, I'm sure it's in a lot. Like, I'm sure I could watch it. It just happens to be the only one that I haven't watched. We should do it for movie night extravaganza too, because it's like, you know, it's the only one that I haven't watched. Not for any reason. It's just like, you know, we did pretty much every Stanley.
No, we
Kubrick
haven't done a
movie.
stream of that either, or Lolita, but I don't know if we want to do Lolita.
But I mean, I'm saying like I've seen Lolita.
Yeah,
I found it very boring, but I've seen it.
Okay, once again, you guys can keep the editorial direction of your other podcast on your other podcast. Let's talk about.
I bleed movie night extravaganza. Sorry.
Well, I should say, Forrest, thank you for letting us simulcast this on your channel. We're casting on many channels.
We're there right now. Like
exactly.
Geez, I can't even talk about it.
So I'm just messing. So the other thing about this movie is like, why didn't it do better? Do you think? My wife made a great point where she's just like, the name sucks. It's a sucky name. So,
but I mean,
keep getting confused between that and the Long Goodbye.
Well, Shane Black has a lot of weird ass names for his movies, like The Last Boy Scout, or what was that other one?
Oh, thank God, fucking Boy Scouts, dude.
I gotta look this up because I can't remember it. But yeah, he had a run of like badly named films in the 90s, and you know, let's see here, scroll down. Wait, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang kind of was not really well named either. Although that was in the 90s, but
it's interesting because there are references, you know, like I think Samuel L. Jackson at one point makes like a Driving Miss Daisy joke.
Yeah,
that's
a really good one. By the way, apparently Brian Cox's first role on record is as Trotsky. So shout out to you know, Trotskyist
based Brian Cox. Based Brian Cox.
See, now you're gonna want to watch that, don't you?
It's in Nicholas and Alexandria, which who knows if that's good, but yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I really there were just a lot of it's funny because there were so many people who were just like, who the hell is that, right? And the villain guy, what's his name, Craig Bierko. It's funny because I just like I recognize him, but I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Like, who's ever? And then you go look up his credits, and he has just a bunch of kind of like B movie stuff. But then he's in one of my favorite films of all time, which is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. He plays a really funny character, Lacerda, the like overzealous photographer, who's been assigned with Hunter S. Thompson to do this gig, and Hunter S. Thompson just hates his guts. It's a weird dynamic, and he nailed it somehow in that film.
Well, I was wondering where I knew him from, and then he plays the Tom Cruise role in Scary Movie 4.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was in
he's
Scary
a really
Movie 5
familiar
too.
face, but
Yeah, no, he was on Deadwood too, apparently.
interesting.
Very cool.
As was
Oops.
Brian Cox.
Really?
Apparently.
And Born Supremacy.
I've only watched the first season of. Yeah.
I've not watched any of it.
Craig
so,
Bierko or Brian Cox was in Born Supremacy?
Oh, who am I? Wait, I'm sorry. I'm on Brian Cox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Brian Cox was in all of the Bourne movies, apparently. Which is funny that it's funny because we just had that conversation the other day, where we were talking about the Bourne movies, and the same guy that Edge of Tomorrow, that guy had also the same director, was the first director of Bourne Identity, and then went on to executive produce. We had that conversation on. I remember that because 2 days ago I rewatched our 3 hour. All right, well I mentioned movie night extravaganza and fucking Joe just disappears, but
you're fine.
Doug Lyman.
But Doug Lyman had we had the conversation about him, and he was the executive producer of all of them because he had directed the original one. So it's funny that we have another conversation about someone that's in. Because it seems like Brian Cox is in all of the Bourne movies.
Yeah. No, Brian Cox is, like I said, just one of those guys who's in, and he does like 35 movies a year too. So,
prolific
it's easy
guy.
to miss. It's easy to miss a performance of his because like I said,
yeah, Jesus, this is 2004, 2004, 2004, 2005, 2005, and then 2007. He's in 5 different movies. That's crazy.
Hey, Spielberg did Jurassic. Spielberg did Jurassic Park and Schindler's List in the same year. So, you work how much you work however much your ego will allow, I guess. But any other
sounds like some careful ass planning.
Yeah, a lot of other people planning for you. But what any other thoughts, anyone, on why this film didn't do better? I know Andy, when we talked about doing this, you're like, it has a cult following, but it's not perfect, or it's not it doesn't live up to one of those epic, memorable films. Why?
I think but it does have good set pieces. Sometimes when you watch a movie, even a bad one, say the second Matrix movie, for example, you have that amazing freeway chase scene, that stands out to you. Okay, the scene where she gets the Christmas lights and grabs the gun and shoots the guy in the helicopter, that's cool and all, but that only lasts a moment. That's not a big set piece.
That's the finale.
And I think that's what this movie is lacking, is one of those big set pieces that's really memorable. I mean, I can list, terrible movies and just great moments in them. Because they have really good set pieces and they're better remembered than this film. And I mean, there's lots of great moments, but I don't know. There's nothing that quite, that's quite, when you see the Matrix 2, you're all excited about that freeway chase scene because that was amazing. Mm-hmm. But you're not gonna, you know what I mean? Like what gets you pumped besides just moments?
Well, I wonder about that moment, the clip, the one that you mentioned, yes, and then also that clip where Samuel L. Jackson, Hennessy, he's they've got him naked underneath the floorboards, where they've got him held hostage, and she like all the shooting happens above him, and he's like shaking and like looking up, like, and then the next thing he knows, like the door blasts open, and she's standing there, and I think she has a gun in each hand, maybe, and she's backlit. And I'm like, that is a fucking great shot, but like,
yeah, no, there's lots
they did
of
not
these...
milk that at all. They could have made that much more epic of an entrance. It lasted like a couple of seconds.
Or have others, not have just Samuel L. Jackson's reaction to it, because like, as good as that reaction is, because like he's basically, they kind of flip the script. He's the damsel in distress, and she's the action hero.
They did, yeah.
Which is what makes this movie, unique, because this is kind of the first one that did that. Maybe not too many before this really did it quite like this.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'd be curious to dig into that.
I mean, you can easily dig into like some B movies, because like I'm gonna blank on her name now, but there's a American actress who went to China and did a bunch of great Hong Kong films, and then went to America and did some B movies that are also kind of like this, where it's like she's the action hero. But like, those weren't hits either. These are like, Golden Harvest productions, like the only Golden Harvest production that was ever a hit was Enter the Dragon and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Everything else was just, made enough money for them to keep importing more stuff.
Yeah. We got a hello from Conan
I feel like
Neutron.
there might just be some, hey, Conan.
Hey, Conan.
The famous Conan
some,
Neutron
like,
from
moments of the movie
Protonic
that, like,
Reversal.
Yeah, he's thinking Scarlett Johansson was before Geena Davis in this movie, and that's wrong, because ScarJo.
No, Scarlett Johansson played, the Samuel L. Jackson character.
No. Yes. How can I forget that?
Yeah.
Yeah, here's one.
I think
one
also
of those
there are
scenes.
some like weak dialogue moments in this movie.
Yes, for sure.
Like, it's not bad across the board by any means, and there's some like fun, really good fun stuff. But like, there's some moments that are a little cringy too with the dialogue.
They didn't give the CIA villain the best lines either. He was
Yeah.
not that scary or impressive either.
No, but Samuel L. Jackson, like, saying like, I was just spending all my time trying to come up with this line before. You think
I would have, I would have been here earlier, but I was thinking up that ham on rye line.
Yeah, like that's a good. He had some good lines in this.
Yeah, but Geena Davis isn't known
for
that kind of banter either. You just have Samuel L. Jackson just going off, and like even that one great scene with Brian Cox where Brian Cox is like, "Is this a duck? Is this a dick?" Like, no, it's a duck.
The humor was something like that was the humor was its own.
It's Shane Black's humor. If you've watched enough of his films, because he, like I say, he was a script doctor on Predator, and then he wrote Lethal Weapon. He gets a writing credit on Lethal Weapon 2, but like he really didn't write any of it. They basically threw out his script, but because of the way the bylaws are with the union, he got his name on the
oh
script.
My God. This is that scene with the dog. That dog has been licking its ass for 2 hours.
That's not a scene from Secession.
Yeah, there were just these weird, I do kind of like that weird, like, out of, I mean, a movie that has all these serious stakes and has just weird moments of humor injected into it. Like that is fun.
I think it works better if you think of it as a comedy first. Like if you think of it as kind of just like a satirical look at spycraft, like it works a lot better, I think, than if you're like, oh, I'm going to take this movie seriously. This movie has good stakes.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. That's the weird thing, is it like, it's got a campy air to it. It's got the cheesiness, but then they're like trying to make a statement about U.S. foreign policy a little bit, kinda. But then they have just the superhuman hero who can take multiple bullets and keep on going. She's like the Energizer Bunny, this girl, right? And they say that,
just like the Soviet Union. No matter what you throw at her.
Oh, it's an allegory.
Oh my God!
Right.
I feel like the play banter between Geena Davis and Samuel L. Jackson is fun in this movie. But I feel like she and Tom Hanks had a good thing going in League of Their Own as well.
Oh yeah, that was pretty good. It's
See,
been a minute
what I
since I've
think
seen
of
that movie.
the movie that I think of with her first, and that I will never stop thinking about with her is Beetlejuice.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Not Thelma and Louise.
100%.
It's gonna be
Thelma and
Beetlejuice.
Louise, solid. She was in
Or-
Tootsie too. I think that was her first feature length.
The car won Thelma and Louise because the only time that I really reference that movie is when something's happening and I'm like, I should put a meme of a car going over a cliff to this.
Conan, you are correct. She is great.
Yeah, and Beetlejuice.
Yes.
I just watch Beetlejuice every once in a while.
You can't say it one more fucking time. I swear to God, if anybody else says that name, we are fucked.
We may as well, Forrest. We may as well.
I will say though,
don't say Beetlejuice. Ah, fuck.
One of my.
At least it wasn't Glenn Greenwald.
Yeah. Hey, that's two, buddy. Leave it out. I'm not interested in being called an establishment lib today. Right?
He pops up in the mirror and he's like, left liberals these days. You're like, no, back in the mirror. Blank.
I'm gonna save my impression, but I lost my train of thought. You guys brought him up. Oh no!
I'd far prefer Beetlejuice.
I watch Beetlejuice every few years just to remember that Alec Baldwin once looked like that. Like it's just hard to believe that's
crazy.
fucking Alec Baldwin.
He also didn't shoot anyone in the face, which is weird for him. You'd expect that he would have shot somebody in the face during that movie. But, it's just
come on, man.
He's a good actor.
Not as good as this guy.
Am I the only one who liked Earth Girls Are Easy?
Oh man, I haven't seen that in forever. I can't remember the last time I watched that movie.
There's a thing where I think it was I don't remember when it was, but Alec Baldwin was responding to like a critic or something and was like, "This list be queer." Like he said something like that. To like he said that at like a critic or something. Like it was an incredibly like homophobic comment, but like it's one that is one that like in the Alec Baldwin voice, like you're like, oh fuck, like
that's rough. There's also the voicemails of him yelling at us, screaming at his daughter or something.
Yeah, but like
calling her a pig or whatever. Not cool, man.
Not cool, but like I don't know, parents lose it.
Sure, yeah. Well, we don't have any voicemails of Samuel L. Jackson calling anybody. I mean, he could call us "kid a motherfucker." We'd all love it.
Yeah,
so I guess.
Go to motherfucker.
Yeah, I think like the writing was pretty good, but not.
He said "toxic little queen." That's what he called her.
Oh Jesus!
Which is like, but it's crazy to hear like the Alec Baldwin voice, where it's like, "You toxic little queen," like.
That's rough. Geez, Alec Baldwin. Here's the director.
Yeah,
yes, Benny Harlan in his complete 90s feathered hair.
Looks like.
Finland,
wow.
From Finland with love. Very cool.
Wow.
Anything else y'all can think to add about this? This was a fun one. Andy, you just keep surprising me with these memory hold movies.
Yeah, we'll get back to some bad ones.
This one wasn't great. I mean, it wasn't fantastic, but it was good. But we can have some bad takes on it.
No, it's a bit like Screamers, though. Like it's not a perfect film by any, but it is certainly not worth, it's certainly worth remembering it. And since it's the holidays, and it is probably my favorite holiday movie, because it's about an assassin who learns the Christmas spirit.
That's true. Family.
And
family togetherness. You're not gonna kill my baby.
What I will add to this is now I'm in the limelight. As I rhyme tight, time to get paid. Blow up like the world trade.
Oh, hey. Good reference. Not bad. Better than
like they could have dug in a little. Oh.
Go ahead, Erica.
Better than what?
Oh, his earlier references. Sorry.
Oh.
My earlier references?
Yeah, I'm just fucking around.
Oh, I thought I made good references.
I think that's what he meant. Yeah.
I thought I sent you 3 names to call, addresses. You're like, hey, am I gonna have them on the stream? I was like, here's some references for you. Yeah.
Nothing to say. We have 2 Beetlejuices in the comments. This is getting out of hand. All right. But you were gonna say, Erica, your last thoughts on
or
the
something
Long
we
Kiss
didn't get
Goodnight?
into.
Yeah, maybe. I don't. Well, I was thinking about. This is an action film, obviously, so I don't think this needed to necessarily be more of a focus than it was. But like her Geena Davis's character, Charlie, like her development from being Samantha and that sort of motherly character, and then like flipping the switch when she gets triggered back into her real self, or what she thinks is her real self, and then like at the end, like still kind of finding that motherly instinct where she's like protecting and saving her kid. Like
She kind of
I don't know, I feel
fuses.
like there's yeah, they don't really delve
It's
into it that much. But
unspoken. Like that's the weird thing about the movie.
Yeah.
It's completely unspoken. But you're right.
They kind of try to fuse her 2 halves at the end, where it like clicks to her, like, I gotta protect my baby, or and then the girl also repeats to her the line when she's all shot up on the bridge. She says, "Life is pain, get used to it." Right, and then she's like, her eyes shoot open or whatever.
Yeah. This is a fun movie. I have a nostalgia for it, and I always will.
That's cool.
I'm glad I got to revisit with y'all.
Here's the poster again with the weird legs, just for fun.
It seems
There is something
like
where
other 90s.
No, go
you
ahead.
know what it is? You know what it is? It's forced perspective, guys. Geena Davis isn't really 6'1", she's 5'2", but they shoot her in forced perspective like this so that she appears that way. It's
I
like
don't
Disneyland.
think forced
It's like
perspective works that way.
I can't remember what it is though. There's some. Oh, it's the Mask. I think it's the Mask where Jim Carrey has the where changes and he throws up and they shoot and then he goes between the legs. He's like.
Yeah. He pulls his pants up and his legs shoot up like a story or whatever. Yeah. That's funny.
There's a film with Katie Holmes in it, I think, that had sort of that kind of perspective on the poster too, and I cannot remember what it was called, but it was a 90s film. It was called Go. Was it Go?
Yeah, that one had like a down shot, I think. It has been so long since I've seen
high
Go.
Angle.
Another Doug Liman reference. We're really doing it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Did he do that one? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Eddie even made a joke about it the other day when we were talking, and he was like, "Oh, something go."
Yeah, I can't remember the joke either. It wasn't memorable.
He said, "Oh, we're ready to go," and I said, "Wow,
clearly."
Doug Liman reference.
Well, very cool, guys. Andy? What do we have like next in the hopper for bad takes?
Well, we got a couple of things. I know I have
April,
in the works.
I'm assuming.
How dare you?
No, we're gonna do one in January. I know coming up. We're gonna discuss. What was it? God's Not Dead with Ben Burgess. And I got a religious expert, and I can't recall his name, but he's
gonna be fun.
Writer for current affairs and loves watching bad movies. So he's really excited.
Oh yeah, I spent too much time as a new atheism guy, so that'll be a lot of fun.
This will be a fun watch. Plus the fact that the Kevin Sorbo plays Ben Burgess in the movie.
The liberal professor, the Marxist professor. Yes, we know. We know.
Also looking at, I got a couple of lawyers who are going to come on. Who's 2 of them do a movie podcast, and one works for TYT.
Oh yes, that's going to be fun.
And we're going to be talking about that really horrible movie with Alan Dershowitz in it, Reversal of Fortune.
Yeah, that's going to be super interesting.
That's going to be crazy. And we also have still the Wolf Warrior 2 episode, if I can ever get that one together. But that
will happen
a lot
somehow.
Of pieces, so we'll try to get that one going.
I told you guys I finished Ravana's intro today, right? I've had that on the docket for 3 weeks, and I've been supposed to finish it, and I've kind of just been in like a creative chasm. And then today I woke up and like felt all right for the first time in a while. Like I've had fucking I've had multiple just infections going on that, like, well, I had an ear infection and I have like a tooth infection, so they've been battling it out.
Those are no good.
So
Sorry,
I've been
Forrest.
in like a creative chasm, and like today, after 3 weeks, I finally finished. Because last night Coden and I were talking, and we were talking about having Ravon on for 80s fantasy thing, and I was like, oh fuck, I gotta finish this intro for her. And this morning I woke up and I was like, I know how to finish it.
There you go. There you go. Wolf Warrior 2, take a drink. Andy brought up Wolf Warrior 2 again.
Well, we'll eventually get to it. Like that is that one and Rambo 3 are very high on my list to do on this channel.
Very cool. And yeah, so 2021 we're going to be really starting with some real bad takes movies. Erica, do you have any creative projects or anything you want to let people know about, or they can listen to your groups on Spotify maybe, or any other evil corporation that mines your creative abilities for cents on the dollar?
Not really right now. I mean, yeah, you can hear Motherfucker on Spotify, iTunes, or Apple Music streaming, and on Bandcamp, and then Dream 10's on Bandcamp. Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends is on Bandcamp, and I'm assuming that's streaming too. I feel like he'd have that.
Yeah, he has the streaming.
And then, yeah, okay. And
I
then,
heard you could hear Motherfucker in every Samuel L. Jackson movie. Is that true?
He's a huge fan of the band.
The reason the band is called that.
Yeah, he's a huge fan of you guys, and he just likes to drop your name in his movies.
Yeah, and just everybody
We've been
knows
watching way too many
Bandcamp
Tarantino
is
films.
not an evil, that evil of a corporation. I'm sure they're an evil corporation.
Bandcamp helps out the artist.
Bandcamp, yeah, definitely. With Fridays, if you buy the album on Fridays, the artist gets all the money. So
one Friday a month.
I don't think it's every Friday, but they announce it.
But stay tuned for the next Bandcamp Friday. And help out some motherfuckers.
All right. Well, I think that wraps it up, folks.
Wait,
thanks.
I gotta promote the fact that we're talking about Predator tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Forrest Movie Night Extravaganza. You got Predator tomorrow.
I mean, we're talking about Predator tomorrow. Not the To Catch a Predator, but the Predator, the Arnold Schwarzenegger one.
Yes, which also is script doctored by Shane Black, who has a small role in the movie.
Ooh.
Chris Hansen seats Arnold Schwarzenegger down and says, "You know what? Please have a seat. I got to talk to you about a few things." And Arnold Schwarzenegger's like, "Get to the chopper!" And runs out of the house that Chris Hansen set up. Amazing movie. He really kills it. Chris Hansen and Arnold Schwarzenegger both, I think.
Oh, is Tony Ash going to be on that episode?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for the reminder, Conan. Conan and Neutron in the comments reminding bad takes. First there was 1, then there was 2, then there were 3. So, but it's very cool to see you guys doing all those not bad movies. You're not focusing just on bad movies. You're just doing movies.
Listen, Movie Night Extravaganza is literally just a bad takes ripoff. It's. I know you guys are only.
You heard it here first, folks. You heard it straight from the mouth.
We're on episode 49 tomorrow. But you know what? I'm gonna admit it. It's just it's a copy. It's an echo.
Well, bad takes came after.
Tony Ash is a delight, so I'm sure that'll be great.
Cool. Oh, according to Conan, he's a Predator scholar. So, yeah, y'all have fun.
Not a good look for your friend, by the way, if you're referring to them as a Predator scholar.
To each their own. Film
they
studies.
know the entire sex offender registry, back to front.
Oh my God! Did you know that Jeffrey Epstein?
You know that Harvard donor Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh my God. Do you think? I wonder if Harvey Weinstein had anything to do with Predator. You guys should figure that out. No. Okay, good thing the Weinstein Company wasn't involved. But anywho, I think
that he already knows.
Yeah. I think on that pleasant note, we should probably call it a night. It's getting later and later wherever you are on the planet. But you guys, thank you for being on the show. Erica, Strout, and Forrest Miller of Bad Takes. Or sorry, this is Bad Takes. Of Movie Night Extravaganza. Jesus. They're all the same.
What's the difference between the two podcasts?
They're all the same. And then Andy, thanks for suggesting this film. And I only just noticed, Andy, that your name says J. Andrew Life is Payne World. So very good. You better get used to it.
Pain
Right,
don't
have a good
hurt,
one, guys.
buddy. Let me tell you that.
Pain
Thanks
don't
so
hurt.
much.
You bet. Peace out, everybody. Have a good one.